afternoon. I'm still reporting on the economy from Los Angeles. Well, the Professor Jeffery Sachs interview has gone up on the interdependence.org website. I'll be analyzing one or two of the other presentations in coming days. But before we get into a lightly edited version of the entire Sachs presentation, one housekeeping item. I've put up a Kickstarter site to help me pay some obligations associated with my time here in LA while doing the final editing on Jekyll Island. All you have to do is to go to Kickstarter.com and type in Jekyll Island, Jekyll Island, into the search box and you'll find the page. Okay, thanks for putting up with that. Now here is the entire lightly edited, explosive interview with Professor Jeffery Sachs of Columbia University, speaking on April 17th, 2013.
We have really a mountain of criminal and fraudulent behavior that is very much part of the 2008 scene. And we don't usually speak in these terms. We usually speak in terms of bubbles and mistakes, misjudgments, and so forth. But the amount of what I would regard as utter criminality and financial fraud is absolutely enormous. Yesterday, a judge approved the settlement with SAC Capital, a $602 million fine. One asks whether $602 million fine is likely to have much effect. That the owner and CEO of SAC Capital took home last year in compensation $1.4 billion personally. So the company is paying a $602 million fine, and at the same time, Stephen A. Cohen takes home in compensation $1.4 billion in personal compensation for his management of the company. So this is what's called the American financial system at the moment. It's really mind-boggling to me, and it is an unregulated, essentially lawless environment that is not getting any more lawful. So I checked what Stephen A. Cohen, his political engagement this past year, and he gave $217,000 in campaign contributions. Now this is a pittance from the point of view of his wealth, obviously, as a share of $1.4 billion paycheck, but $217,000 with our cheapskate politicians actually goes a long way to making sure that Mr. Cohen will be very well treated by his senators and by others who are giving ample protection to all of this. I know a lot of these people. There's no way in the world that their marginal productivity is orders of magnitude close to their income levels. And I find it completely disgusting that they are allowed to make large political contributions. And many of these companies are involved in these civil lawsuits, payments for fraudulent behavior that is neither admitted nor denied. Where is the Fed? Because this is about basic regulatory practice. It seems to me, in truth, that we have a system that is out of control right now, that's politically out of control, regulatorily out of control, out of legal bounds, out of responsibility. And we've invented a system where you get to take home billions of dollars in personal compensation. Your shareholders pay hundreds of millions of dollars in fines. You shelter your money in the Cayman Islands in agreement with the IRS, and nobody seems to control it at all. And, you know, I sit with the diplomats here in New York. I can only tell you that the level of unhappiness has risen to really very, very stark proportion. And I can only agree with them that I don't see any real progress being made in getting this right. Wall Street is pretty lawless, and unfortunately the regulatory system that we have is nearly broken down. I think this is a profound failure of government, without question. It is, I think from the Tea Party to, if I could say, the left, which I probably would be classified in, I think we would agree that the symptoms are government failure, massive corruption, massive legalized corruption of large money interests that have taken over the regulatory process, regulatory capture. I do think that there is a truth, though, to the fact that a fractional banking system, if we're going to keep it, as Milton Friedman rightly said, it is inherently a fragile institution that is subject to self-fulfilling collapse. As he said, the one stone can start the avalanche, and it's the job of the Fed to prevent that from happening. We need to analyze why it is that it has been so completely, such a complete failure. Part of it is technical, no doubt, that markets can deregulate around regulation, but part of it is really political corruption that probably could be addressed in a more straightforward way. The banking crisis, which we know to be part of a fractional reserve banking system. The second point then is whether fractional reserve banking itself has value enough to keep it in its current form. I'm not convinced, I have to say, one way or another. I'm kind of, grew up in a fractional reserve banking system. I do believe that it provides liquidity in normal times if regulation is good. I tend to believe that there is value in reserve banking, but it's also highly volatile, as theorists have recognized at least for 150 years. And as Milton Friedman agreed, and I think we have the choice, could we really have liquidity without fractional reserve banking? The final point, of course, is separating the politicians from the crooks. But maybe that's so close together that they can't actually be separated. Maybe it's just the same community. I think in general for most small countries or most developing countries, I'll put aside the very largest ones, there is a sense of almost complete dependency on the international system. Their payments, their lines of credit, interbank markets, the need for swap facilities with the Fed or the ECB. So they've been well schooled that for the last 25 years their goal is to be part of the international system. They just woke up to a system that they find very destabilizing, and they don't see any clarity of the way forward. And most of the advice that they get is to be part of the system and be quiet, basically. This is how the system is. You join it. You stay in good terms with the Fed, with the IMF, with others, and there is very little sense of autonomous potential among these countries. Really, I can only emphasize the palpable anger and vulnerability that's felt right now is very, very high. I believe we have a crisis of values that is extremely deep. Because the regulations and the legal structures need reform, but I meet a lot of these people on Wall Street on a regular basis right now. I'm going to put it very bluntly. I regard the moral environment as pathological. And I'm talking about the human interactions that I have. I've not seen anything like this, not felt it so palpably. These people are out to make billions of dollars, and nothing should stop them from that. They have no responsibility to pay taxes. They have no responsibility to their clients. They have no responsibility to people, counterparties in transactions. They are tough, greedy, aggressive, and feel absolutely out of control. And they have a docile president, a docile White House. and a docile regulatory system that absolutely can't find its voice. It's terrified of these companies. If you look at the campaign contributions, which I happened to do yesterday for another purpose, the financial markets are the #1 campaign contributors in the U.S. system now. We have a corrupt politics to the core. This has nothing to do with Democrats or Republicans. It really doesn't have anything to do with right wing or left wing, by the way. The corruption is, as far as I can see, everywhere. But what it's led to is this sense of impunity that is really stunning, and you feel it on the individual level right now. And it's very, very unhealthy. I have waited for 4 years, 5 years now, to see one figure on Wall Street speak in a moral language. And I've not seen it once. And that is shocking to me. And if they won't, I've waited for a judge, for our president, for somebody, and it hasn't happened. And by the way, it's not going to happen anytime soon, it seems.
I'm still reporting on the economy from Los Angeles. Good news.